Hi everybody, welcome to our week number 8 Twitch live stream for my intro psych class. I see a couple of you getting logged in and joining me. Hopefully everyone can hear and see me okay, everything coming through all right on your end. I'm going to wait just a minute here to give you a chance to catch up with me. But if you have a chance to let me know if you can hear and see me okay, that'd be super helpful. Everything looks like it's coming through all right on my end, but I just want to make sure you can hear and see me just fine. Mhm. Okay. All right, I'm gonna hope that that is a yes. So what I want to do, obviously we are in week number 8, so I'm gonna head over to Canvas here together, and we scroll down. We are right here in week number 8, and I'm gonna remind you of this several times, but remember that our class officially ends Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So just make sure that you have everything in by Friday night. I would also really recommend you start checking your grades on everything. If you're missing something or if something is incorrect, this is a really good time to check it and let me know. Very easy to fix it right now. Once I do final grades, it's actually quite challenging to go back and fix it. So do me a favor, if anything is wrong or you're missing something that you shouldn't be, definitely reach out to me and let me know so that we can adjust it. But we are in week 7 and 8. So last week we went over everything for week number 7. Which included the 2 discussions. You also had the self-care and mindfulness assignment. As a quick side note, there are quite a few of you who have emailed me saying you can't remember how to access the self-care book. So remember when you purchased the bundle of books at the beginning of the semester, there was a self-care book and the Psyched book. And the self-care book was either through Red Shelf or Vital Source. So if you never opened it or accessed it, might consider going back and looking for the email from them. It should have instructions on how to open it up and how to get to it. But you will need access to that book in order to do that assignment. You're going to be uploading and answering a bunch of questions, which we went over last week. What I want to focus on today is kind of going through what we have for week number 8, which is our last week. And again, the class ends on Friday night, which I know is a little bit different, so just make sure that you're really mindful of that deadline. But this week we're looking at chapter 15 and 16, so therapies and social psychology. So as always, you're going to want to read through the book and then read through the lecture. There was an issue with Zoom where they for some reason seem to have disabled all of the lecture links. So if you can't open the link for the lecture, just make sure that you focus on reading the actual lecture up here and then reading through the book, and hopefully that will be enough for you. The lectures are just kind of meant to help, but for whatever reason they've been disabled. I'm looking into it. I hope I can get them back up for you. But if they aren't working, know that that was an issue that a lot of people ran into. You also have your 2 discussions this week where you have discussion 15 and 16. So discussion 15 on the different therapies. With this one, hopefully it'll open here. The internet is definitely running a little bit slow. All right. Just waiting. This one you are looking at the topic of therapy. As always, you'll have my instructions up here at the top, followed by my different questions that you're going to be answering as we wait for it to load together. It's taking such a long time loading. That's so strange. So here are the questions down here. You're going to be thinking about some stereotypes that you have of therapy, either personally or maybe that you've seen or heard from others. How would you describe the stereotypical therapist? In other words, what might be some stereotypical things they might say or do? What is their gender, their age, their appearance? What might be in their office, right? Anything related to stereotypes of therapy. And then the biggest one is this last bullet down here, using the textbook lecture and then the provided website below right here. You're going to look at 2 different therapy styles, right? So if you were to ever consider going to therapy, which 2 of the different therapeutic approaches would be your top choices and why? And for each one of them, I want you to describe the type of therapy, a goal of that type of therapy, really kind of show me that you understand how they would approach therapy, what they might do. If you've been to therapy before, you can write about that as well, and can talk about those. Or if you've never been, this is your chance to kind of read about a bunch of different types. So when you're ready, you'll hit reply, and then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 very easy points of participation. For discussion number 16, this one is related to social psychology, kind of as broad as psychology gets. A lot of overlap here with sociology. So if you find sociology interesting, you might like this chapter and vice versa. As soon as it loads here, you'll see, again, as always, my instructions followed by my video. And then this one, you're going to do a couple of different things. So the first is you're going to perform 3 random acts of kindness or altruism. These should ideally be things that are unplanned, they're random. It can vary from something really small to something bigger. You're going to describe the 3 acts that you performed. What did you do? What were the reactions of the recipient, if any? Share your thoughts and reactions to everything that happened. You're going to describe a time where you were a victim of prejudice or discrimination. This can be based on your age, race, ethnicity, orientation, gender, religion, ability, literally on anything. You're going to talk about what happened and your reactions. If you've never been a victim of prejudice or discrimination, you could describe something that happened to someone in your life. You could also describe a scene from a movie, if that is the case where you haven't experienced anything. Most people, sadly, have been a victim of one or the other at some point. But if that's the case, you can always do one of those 2 options. And then finally, what are some strategies that you can employ to reduce prejudice and discrimination in your own life? And so again, you'll hit reply, and then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 very easy points for doing the peer response. Those are your kind of normal things for the week where you have the 2 chapters and 2 discussions. We also have exam number 4. So just like you've taken multiple times at this point, it is just a 4th exam where you're going to be going through the study guide and completing the test. This is just on everything from week 7 and 8. So you can see the study guide is right here. You're taking it on the ebook site like always. And remember that the grade doesn't come over automatically, so just don't worry if you don't see it right away. But when the class ends Friday night, I will be going through and grading everything and bringing your scores over, calculating a final grade. So same suggestions as usual. Make sure that you're studying, that you're prepared, that you have a good quiet place to take the exam, and of course that you have an hour to spare, 75 minutes to spare. You also this week have a closing assignment, and this is one other thing that's a little bit different. It is worth 25 points, and instead of giving you a cumulative final, what I've done is giving you an opportunity to reflect back over the course of the semester. So you're going to think about 5 different things that you can apply to your life. So what I have here are the instructions, followed by a sample and a concept list. So if we open the sample together, that might be kind of helpful. This is a very specific format that I want you to follow. Rather than writing like a traditional paper, you're going to be following this format of you list a term, the definition, and then the application. So I'm looking to see that you can apply 5 different things from this class to your life in some way. Hopefully more than 5, but you're going to be writing about 5 of them. Right, so the application piece is the part that I'm really the most interested in grading. But I do want you to list the term and define it, and then give me that application piece. And you'll do this 5 times, so you're following that very specific format. It's not necessarily a traditional paper, and I'm not super worried about the formatting in terms of like spacing and stuff. Just try and follow that format to make it really easy for me to see. So you're going to upload that right here where it says instructions. Once you open that up at the top, there's a link where it says start assignment, and that's where you'll upload your file where you have those 5 different things, right? You can see the start assignment link right here. And all of the instructions, again, worth 25 points. I'm looking to see that you can take 5 different things from the class and apply them to your life in some way. All right, so those are the big things that you have for this week. You have the exam, you have the 2 discussions, and you have the closing assignment. There's also a little anonymous closing class survey that I put on here. I think it's a really cool opportunity for you to share with me something maybe that you liked or didn't like about the class, and it's completely anonymous, so I won't know who said it, but I would love your feedback if you have some. Always trying to make the class a little bit better. And then let me give you the extra credit question. I wrote it out earlier, so I'll put this here in the chat. It's related to the topic on the different therapies. So this is the, and I had written this out already here, so I'm going to put this here. But the extra credit question, this is the week number 8. Right, if someone had a phobia of heights, what are 2 different methods that could be used for treatment? So if someone had a phobia of heights, what are 2 different ways that you could help treat their phobia. They don't both have to be behavioral, as a side note, but you could have two behavioral ones. And when you're ready to answer that, you'll click on optional extra credit number 8 right here, since we're in week number 8. And then up at the top, you'll hit start assignment like you've done hopefully many times at this point, and you can type your response and go ahead and submit that for credit. Now, if you're watching this with me live, then you're all set. If you're watching this later as a recording, don't forget to make sure that you are subscribed so that you can get those points for joining me. But otherwise, those are kind of the big things for this week. I'm going to put this here in the chat. Remember that our class officially ends Friday night at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so make sure that all components are turned in by Friday night. If you email me on Saturday, it will feel so bad for you, but it will be too late. Final grades for the class are due very quickly, and I know a lot of you will be anxious for your grades. So just make sure that you have everything in before the class ends. Here's where you can turn in that extra credit if you want to do that last Twitch opportunity. And so many of you have taken advantage of that, which I think is really fantastic. Hopefully those points have been helpful for you and have added up over the course of the semester. So I believe that's everything that I wanted to share with you. What I'll do is I'll hang out for a few minutes. If you do have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Get going on all the stuff that's due by Friday night. And I hope that if you have any questions later, feel free to reach out, and you can always email me at any point. But thank you so much for joining me live or watching this later as a recording. I know I had to change the time today. I'm sorry about that. As we get closer to the end of the semester, things are definitely a little chaotic, and I've been fighting a cold, so forgive me for that. But thank you so much for those of you joining me. I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself, but I will hang out for a little bit if you do have any questions for me. You too, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful last bit of the semester and a wonderful summer. It's definitely coming up quickly, so enjoy yourself, and thank you as well.